You are listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Bolitho, and my regular weekly guests, and we are all here to share the research, the science, and the strategies, as well as some of the fun, to help you to create a more active life. Hello and welcome to this episode of Creating Active Lives when I'm talking to Matt Boyles. Matt is the founder and CEO of Fitter Confident You. He started with online personal training specifically tailored for gay, bi and trans men, but he also does group training now. He's also got a best-selling book, Fitter Confident Universe, spelled U-Y-O-U, Universe, and he runs international retreats, which always look lovely when I see them on Facebook. Now, you started Fitter Confident You, didn't you, to make fitness more fun, more inclusive, more accessible for the GBTQ plus community? Because I think when we've talked before, you said that people are often put off gyms and fitness and the more structured type of stuff, and you wanted to kind of create a different way of doing things. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, on one hand, it's kind of a selfish story because it was simply because when I discovered fitness late in life, I had always been personally put off by some not awful experiences at school, but just moments at school that just didn't always feel very inclusive or supportive of anything other than one type of fitness or sport, which at school was rugby. I didn't like rugby. I didn't like being beaten up in the mud twice a week in winter. So, and in the 80s, it felt like there was very little provision for anything else other than just the one sport the school was good at. And then going through life and growing up through teens and university, it's still, when I understood there was a whole fitness industry out there, again, it felt like a serious boys club that I wasn't invited to. It felt very exclusive. It felt like you had to take it seriously and it was like a sensible thing that's going to hurt and you've got to commit to it. None of those things were me. So I just never felt that I wanted to do any fitness or be part of that. Because when you're not represented or see yourself in something, in anything, why would you want to be part of it necessarily? But then later on, when I did, in my late 20s, start getting into fitness, I started to realize that all these other ways of doing it. And it totally changed my life. I obviously started a fitness company later on, which I'm not encouraging everyone to do. But if the will takes you, go for it. And the point is, I was doing it just because I wanted to. It's kind of a cliche, but even though the original quote isn't, but be the change you want to see in the world. I wanted to see if I could run a fitness company that was fun and silly and inclusive and accessible and specifically worked with my community. Because as I went on my journey and realized the power of fitness for my mental well-being, physical well-being, emotional, spiritual, everything, I realized, hang on, there's probably some other guys out there in my shoes who maybe have been put off for different reasons, feel intimidated in gyms, don't know where to start, feel overwhelmed, and don't necessarily want to go to a straight trainer just because they have to go through that whole extra process of having to come out to them, having to just explain things. So when someone comes to work with me, it's shorthand for, I get you, we can just start training. You don't have to explain that whole part of your life to me. And it just snowballed from there, reaching out and just supporting people and realizing there was a big groundswell of people who wanted to do this, but just didn't know how to. And I was the first hand that reached out to them.
It's so important, isn't it, that as a fitness instructor, as a fitness professional, that we do understand our clients. But also that our clients feel safe with us. That they get us, and that's true. Whatever your sexuality, disability, size, age, everything, you want to go to somebody that you feel, I trust this person with my health and fitness. Because even if you're not directly thinking that, I think sometimes I mean I've been in the industry for over 30 years now, and I'll see people who technically are not the best, but they've got the biggest client group because their clients feel safe with them. And there are other people who are brilliant kind of technicians, if you like, within fitness, but they're so focused on the shiny, the technique, they forget about treating people holistically. And you were saying just then, you found it was physical health, mental health, emotional, spiritual, everything. Fitness these days is a much more holistic experience, isn't it, than just big biceps and a good old, cardiovascular fitness. And I think this is where people like you are now really, really strong, is because you understand that it's not just about the fitness results, it's about the holistic person, isn't it?
Yes, but it took me a while as well, because actually when I first became a trainer, I was more traditional. I stood in the park and I trained people face to face there. And so we'd do our hour, I'd count their reps and cheer them on, and then they would go home and I might see them again in the week, or I might see them next week. But that was it. That was all that my mind at the time could encompass what personal training and fitness was. But also back then as well, when I started, I worked with everyone. I work with everyone because then you can work with anyone. But it's not true, as you said. You fall through the cracks because no one knows who you really understand. No one knows who you really get. And no one knows what your life experience actually qualifies you to help them with. So it was the dovetailing of actually moving and building an online version 6 years ago. And then also niching and realizing actually I need to work with, it was a drive, it was a need to support other people like me, but also it just logically made sense that this is the experience, the lived experience I have. This is who I can help, because I can just program people and help them avoid the mistakes I made, because that was because I didn't know any better when I was starting, and just fast track people who are gay or bi or trans or anyone within that community, basically, who felt left out and wanted to do something. And I knew that I could, because I'd walked it, that was the path that I could lead people through.
And and I was talking to a guest a couple of weeks ago and about ADHD and that, and she was saying, I've kind of educated my trainer that there are some weeks where, we ain't going to do that. We're not going to do the cardiovascular. We're not going to do the strength, because that's just not what I'm capable of. And I think that's part of it, isn't it? Is you understand some of the what's going on with people, which means that you can adapt. It's not just right, it's week 1 we're doing this, week 2, week 3, week 4. It's, do you know what, we might need to adapt. We can do that. And I think that's again coming back to that holistic element of fitness now. I think we're working much more with people's kind of natural cycles, because we all have them, male, female, whatever.
We do.
But it's working with that and saying, do you know what, I'm not in the mood for running today. I'm really not in the mood for it. And it's saying, right, we'll do this instead, rather than, but it's on the program, you've got to do it. So, but why not? Now, this episode is going out at the beginning of November, which is Movember. So a little bit then about Movember, and why do we need to talk specifically about men's health when it comes to fitness and everything?
Because men are terrible at talking about it without any encouragement. Traditionally, it goes back to that, stiff upper lip, don't show emotion, don't show weakness, don't show any vulnerability. And without encouragement, men can form, it can be gay men, but obviously it's more likely to be straight men, fall into that locker room humor, the bravado, I don't need to talk about that, that's for women. We see it all the time. We see it institutionalized in different organizations still around the country, where that has a terrible impact. We don't need to specify. We all know who we're talking about. But giving men the space and the permission to talk about it, and giving them examples of other men who've stood up and said, actually, I'm not okay, or I've had these experiences, has, over the last few years, and Movember is a great example of a way to get through to men and get people talking, because ultimately all of those chest beating alpha male wannabes, underneath it all, everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to also be heard as well, whatever's going on in our life. We don't need to bottle it up. But for so long, it was just part of the British psyche that was like the 1950s male, the man of the house who goes off to work and he comes home and the woman's done the cooking and the cleaning, and of course he doesn't talk about his emotions because that's for women. But we held on to that so tightly for so long. But things like Movember and just various different movements and various different fitness organizations starting to get the wheels to turn to just, as I said, give men the permission that it's okay, and actually being able to be in touch and just share things with friends or whoever will make you feel so much better. And we all know this. Logically, even those people know it. It's just they've conditioned not to do it, to show weakness.
And that's a big thing, isn't it? We know that you can't really separate physical health and mental health. it's very, very, very difficult. I would say almost impossible to have one without the other. You can have a disability, you can have a long-term health condition, a chronic condition or whatever, and be healthy within that and have positive mental health within that. But if your physical health is poor, it does have a knock-on effect on your mental health, and vice versa, we know, if your mental health is poor. And I think you're right. For me, the thing with things like Movember is it encourages men to start listening to all the publicity that's going on, to what people are saying. And the more people listen, it's more like, actually, if all these people are talking, maybe I can talk. Maybe it's time for me to talk.
Yes.
And it, by listening, you're more likely to start talking. And it really does help people, I think, to, even if it's just, right, I'm just going to go and find somewhere where I can train and someone who gets me. And even if I don't talk at first, at least I can start working on my health. But it gives people, like you say, it's that permission, isn't it, to feel and to gradually start to open up and talk about their mental health, their physical health, but also, moving away from the more, how can I put it? Like you say, the more kind of like, I need big biceps type of fitness. It's more, well, actually, I want to do Pilates because I want to be leaner and stretchier and stuff. So it's also giving men, do you know what I mean though? It's giving men the opportunity to explore some of the, maybe the non-male type of, traditionally the sort of things that men haven't gone towards, away from the weights room and into the studios and things, because that's a big part of health.
Absolutely. And that's always something I've always encouraged people to take a step back and see if they could start to appreciate all the different ways they're making progress and benefiting from even a little bit of regular fitness. So yes, that again is another thing that's sort of rippling through the mental well-being impact. But there are so many, it's more than just how I feel, that the mental elements like, I might make a friend at the gym, or I might use that hour at the gym as my one hour of meditation to switch off from the real world. There's so many mental health benefits beyond just, just endorphins to make me feel better, which is great. But communicating that has been important and part of my message as well. Do it for you for so many different reasons. And the more you've got, the more you'll always find something that will motivate you to get out the door to go work out.
And that's so important, isn't it? It's moving away from the no pain, no gain. And actually, do you know what? No pain. No pain, fun. It's just fun. But that's always been the thing, isn't it? No pain, no gain. I mean, even going back with James Bond and Feel the Burn and stuff. But actually, I think a lot more people, I don't think that's been as big an issue for women, but I think for a lot of men, it has been that no pain, no gain. Whereas actually it's now saying, do you know what? Actually, no, it doesn't have to hurt. Yeah, you want to feel you've done something and you want to push yourself a little bit, but it doesn't have to hurt. And I think, again, it's raising awareness of the fact that exercise activity can be enjoyable, should be enjoyable, because
should be, yes.
You're going to carry on doing something you like doing. Aren't you?
Yeah, you'll make time for it if you enjoy it.
If you enjoy it, you make time for it, absolutely. What do you think stops men from getting into that kind of healthy and enjoyable routine?
This I've seen across different groups of men and probably women as well. I just haven't studied the market as closely. But putting the wrong people on pedestals, putting men's health cover models on pedestals, and in their brain normalizing it that everyone looks like that apart from them, and going, oh, well, they're so far ahead, I just won't start. So both the wrong role models, because everyone knows, A, cover models only look like that for the shoot, and B, they've been touched up as well. Well, not like that. They've been photoshopped.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some. Who knows? That's another podcast. That isn't a real image to aspire to. Also, the normalization of that as the norm is not right. But people's brains are telling them because of how social media presents it to us. Everyone looks like that all the time, apart from you. So it can feel too much of a mountain to climb. So people just don't. They feel too put off, and they go, "Oh, well, what's easier, looking like that or having some more biscuits?" Oh, I'll have some more biscuits. And I know that sounds like two extremes of a binary, but that's really what I've come across. People going, it's too hard, it's too ridiculous. I'm too busy to. Or they might go, oh, I could look like that if I had 5 hours a week to train, but I don't. So so they put it off, or just don't start because it seems so unobtainable.
And that's a big issue, isn't it? And the so-called influencers as well, who are saying, I do 7 minutes a week of exercise and I look like this. And it's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
On
With
either,
resistance bands.
either
Sure.
And again, I think people think, well, like you say, I haven't got the time to put in. But actually, if at the moment you're not doing much, you're doing nothing, then 5 minutes, 10 minutes is a start. And it's that starting point, isn't it? It's recognizing that, okay, I'm not fit enough yet to do an hour at the gym, but I can do 10 minutes at home. I can do this, I can break it down into smaller amounts and start to get there. But like, I think the biggest thing is that enjoyment factor. It's for me, it's always send people away with a smile.
Exactly. And that's why helping people see all the different ways they can make progress. Like, one workout could help. If you've been sleeping badly, one workout could help you sleep better, have a better mood the next morning, more energy, have a better relationship with your partner the next day because of that lovely knock-on effect. And no, one workout isn't going to change your body physically hugely, but there'll be other nice impacts inside. Like, you will get an endorphin burst. Your hormones might be a little bit better balanced, and you might have a positive, mood because of that the next day. So taking it away from the traditional, you do fitness to look like someone else, or you do fitness to build your body, and bringing in this whole massive cloud of benefits, a huge word cloud of all the different ways that we make progress and feel better about ourselves is so important. And that's what I really encourage from the start, because the more we can sort of deprogram people, that's not the only reason to do it. And the same the other way, people who are obsessed with the scales and losing fat because they go, I'll only be happy when I lose 5 kilos. No, if you're not happy now, you won't be happy when you lose 5 kilos. You'll just be 5 kilos lighter. And then then you'll think there was no point to it all because you'll realize you're still miserable. So helping people, supporting people reframe why they're working out is key. It really is.
And I think 2 things that really struck me there. One is that I think, shorter sessions initially, that people go away thinking, I can do this. Building that confidence, sense, I can do this. For me, I've always said this. I'd rather do 15 minutes with somebody and have them go away thinking, I did it, than do an hour and they have to stop and say, well, I had to give up and I can't do this. That sends them away despondent. But I just build the confidence. For me, the initial weeks with anybody are all about building the confidence, that sense of, I can do this, and I'm enjoying it, and it's okay, and I'm starting to feel better. But the other thing is, you were saying about 5 kilos and this. I'm a great believer that I think we've become way too obsessed or fixated on goals, smart goals and things. I think sometimes, like you said earlier, people want to go to the gym just to have an hour away from everything. So they haven't, their goal for going to the gym is just, I haven't got a goal. It's just an hour and I don't think about anything other than what I'm doing. And I think sometimes we need to allow people to not have goals about exercise, particularly if they've got busy lives, lots of deadlines and all sorts of other things going on. I think then we're adding in goals that they're going to think, it's just another thing I'm going to fail at. Whereas do you know what? Just come along and have fun. The only aim is
I couldn't agree more. I think some people, it's as you get to know clients, it's about building that rapport and understanding what will motivate them. Because some people, I guess they call them type A people, are very data and goal driven, but so many people aren't. And giving, as you said, giving people that permission to just do it for the doingness of it all, to do it because it's a lovely gift of time to themselves is really important. And actually, and for a lot of people, setting goals that either are too off-putting or they don't reach in the time frame is even more demoralizing to them, which is the last thing we want. We want people to feel comfortable and that this is just something they can keep going. And if setting goals is off-putting, then I'm on the same page. No, we don't need to. Or the other thing is you flip them to I call them process goals. So your goals are to work out twice this week. And that's much easier to tick off because that could be 2 5-minute workouts, but you still did them. You still did something. Yeah.
Or it might be your goal is, whatever else is going on, but at lunchtime to get up and go for a short walk. It's those little steps, isn't it? The little steps along the way. And I think that's quite an important again, my catchphrase is coming out now. Everybody who knows me,
Go on.
get to know your client, because then you will know whether they're goal-oriented or whether they're just tiny little steps, or whether they just want to have a bit of fun and just do it. Let's get the fun back into it. So what's been the most, or what have been the most important developments in your own health and fitness then? Because obviously you've got into the industry, and it's very easy to get swept up in a lot of what goes on in the industry, because there's always new things coming through and everything. But what's been important for you?
Basically learning all the things of what I coach and what I teach now, which was the opposite of how I started. When I started, I was convinced that if I managed to get my weight up to 80 kilos, that would be the dream goal weight, when the doors would unlock, success would come, the promotions would come, the happiness. And I was really fixated on, after every workout, weighing myself. 78.7. Next one. 78.4. Why? I've been eating lots. Like, so fixated on an arbitrary number, because it had a 0 on the end, that I assumed was the next stage in my ascendance to happiness. So it took me probably, God, this is ages ago, like 18 months to figure that out and go and start to tune into my body and just enjoy what I was doing. And that actually was another big step, working out because I liked working out, as opposed to because it gave me a specific outcome, which it did, along with loads of other ones. But realizing that I could do it just because I wanted to do it, like, it became part of the fabric of who I am. And when it did, that was when I got to that level. I realized I didn't even need motivation, because it's just something that I do. I work out 3 or 4 times a week, maybe more, maybe less, but there's no guilt if I can't. But I do it just because it's embedded in my identity. So getting people to that stage and helping them see that there's a roundabout way to do it. And I guess actually with goals, I go through phases. Sometimes I need goals, sometimes I don't. But not being so set on a goal, because some people are so set on a goal that they start working to it and they realize they maybe it's not what they want, but they just realize, but they still have to tick it off. Like that sunk cost fallacy. I've invested so much time and money, I'm going to do it anyway. No, it's okay to stop or change your goal halfway through. Finding friends to work out with, that was brilliant, to make it more of a social experience. I'm a very people-y person, and being able to share any embarrassing moments or share the joy and double the joy of making progress together, things like that. So the power of community, that was really big for me. And just general kindness and general grace to allow what happens. And yes, push when I can and pause and step back when I need to. And also, that was the other thing, know that there isn't an end date. There's one end date in our life, and that's a really sad one. Hopefully in like 50 years, 60 years, who knows? But with your fitness and well-being, or whatever you do for it, there's no end date. And that also can be the problem with goals. They're finite things, and people might work really hard, get to the goal, and then just stop because they hit the goal and they didn't have any other reason to keep going.
And I think as well, sometimes the goals are very, very, they're very specific, but they're very, what's the word I want? I can't remember now, but it's for me, a lot of goals for me are all about the feelings I can do and experiences. So for me to sort of say, I want to be this size or this weight or this strong, it's like you get there and it's, well, now what? Whereas, like you say, it's fitness, health is an ongoing process, and it's kind of right. Well, actually, I want to get through the winter without gaining weight or without losing fitness, or it might be taking up a new winter activity or something like that. I think sometimes we need much more fluid goals that are more to do with experience than that very rigid endpoint. Because, like you say, it can be, oh, well, now what? And there's kind of no future in it. So.
And that's the same with, sorry, just another quick analogy, with diets with a capital D. People do the diet, they go keto and they give up something and they restrict themselves for 12 weeks and it works. But when it stops, they haven't learned to eat and live in the real world, and they can't keep doing keto or South Beach or any of that nonsense forever. So they flail again and start and go back to their old habits and haven't actually changed anything long term. Sorry.
No, but you're absolutely right there. It's, for me, and I get people that say, I just want to feel fitter. I just want to feel like I've got more energy. And, a lot of people say, well, that's not very smart. What will you be able to do when you've got more energy? But do you know what? Sometimes people will come and say, do you know what? I'm just feeling so much fitter these days. Now, they may not be fitter, but mentally, they've changed their perception. They've changed the way they think. And it's my job to work out how I'm going to get them there, if you like, rather than their job to quantify it so specifically that it takes the fun out of it. But they'll come along and say, do you know what? I've been able to go out with my friends in the evening, or I've been able to go walking with my kids because I've got more energy. They'll know. Yeah, just because you can't measure it doesn't mean they won't know.
I agree.
And I think sometimes we put a little bit too much pressure on the goals, and let's make it a bit more fun and things. So one of the things that I think hinders people, if you like, is getting into habits, getting into routines. Particularly when it comes to fitness, because we're coming into the time of year now where the days are shorter, the nights are darker, they're earlier, they're colder, they're wetter, and it can seem quite hard to get into a routine, particularly if it's not familiar. So what would be your tips for getting into routines with fitness and health?
Well, first of all, get some accountability in some form, but that can seem like such a scary word. Accountability literally can be meeting friends or having some kind of friend support. So you're not alone. And we're a sociable species. We need other people. I need accountability sometimes. We all do. So something that's beyond what, and the paradox is, I believe motivation should 99% always be intrinsic and something that because we're doing things for ourselves. But accountability can absolutely be external, because then it ends up being greater than the sum of our parts, greater than just us. Someone else cares about what we're up to, and that gives us like double the reason to be doing it. So whether that's an online group or friends at work or a colleague or a partner or family or anyone, or even just posting on your Facebook, I am going to work out 3 times this week. Hold me to this. Yeah. That's out in the universe. It's in front of other people's eyes. It's some level of accountability. So a reason other than just, I should go to the gym this week. And then motivation as well. Again, this depends on the sort of person you are, and I'm not a huge fan of this, but that's more just for me. But some kind of reward, like we use reward to acknowledge that you've done something good. To reinforce the habit. I did my 3 workouts. At the end of the week, I go and do X because I did that. Obviously you have to have a certain level of trust and make a pact with yourself about it, but something to look forward to as a result can sweeten the deal. And some people, that works for some people. Obviously for some people, setting goals helps, whether that they are short-term process ones, I'll work out 3 times this week, or whether they're longer-term, I want to do couch to 5K, for example, and I want to be able to run the 5K in 3 months, or however long they choose to take it. So actually the combination of goals, if people are into goals, something to get away from and something to work towards too, is the 2 types of goals to sort of push people away and then pull them forwards. Yeah. So the thing to get away from could be, I feel overweight and out of breath and I don't like feeling like this. These are the things we want to leave behind. The things to work towards could be the 5K, and as we get fitter and stronger and faster and more stamina, we get closer to it and it comes into focus more. So we want it more. So if we're into goals, having 2 types of goals is really good.
I think that's really important as well. But it's I know so many people who've done 5Ks and then gone on to do a 10K and then a half marathon, and this again is something that there's, like you say, there's no end point. It's kind of some people stick at a 5K and they say, do you know what? I'm quite happy with 5K. Job done.
Yeah, perfect. I'll run every week.
But it's knowing. It's kind of getting to know yourself, isn't it, as well, and working out what motivates you, because I think that's something that's important. I mean, I know for me, I find that having an appointment in my diary, this is when I'm going to go and exercise, this is when I'm going for a walk. For me, it's regular. If I leave it, I'll do that at some point today, it just won't happen. If I say, right, I'm going to do it at 6 o'clock in the morning or at 8 o'clock in the evening, it's an appointment and I'm more likely to do it. But again, it's I think with a lot of people, it's working out what works for you. It's working out what motivates you as well. And like you say, that for me, I think motivation comes from small successful steps. I think the more you do and you go, oh, I did it and I've done that, the motivation grows. It's not something you have before you start. It's something that grows with you. As you start to experience the feelings, the results and things, you think, oh, I can do this. I want to do this. And that's the shift, isn't it? When you go from I can to I want to do this. I'm enjoying this. And it's important to me that I keep doing this. And it's, for me, I think, the whole get to know your client is such a big part of that, because you'll get to know how to support their motivation and how to support its growth. So what do you think then when it comes to men's health and fitness? What do you think that the fitness industry, if you like, is doing wrong? Because we can sit and talk about a lot of what's going on, but I think sometimes we do get it wrong in the fitness industry, and it'd be just interesting to get your perspective on what you reckon is being done wrong.
Well, I was thinking about this before, but I do think things are starting to change. And actually, to talk about what they're doing right is that there is more inclusion and diversity for all sorts for everyone, shown in adverts, in how the fitness industry presents itself, and just in more inclusive and more people doing like similar to what I'm doing. Again, for niches, for people not just saying, oh, you're a man, you can work with me, you're a woman, work with you, to actually say, to dial into those, into specific, even really specific niches, some more than what I do as well, but just to allow that. And you'll always get people to say, as you said at the start, or maybe it was before we started, but you're focusing on men's health now. Oh, what about women's health? There will always be someone to go, oh, what about me? But actually, the more that we create these niche-specific fitness training opportunities, which show how much we understand each individual person, the more that will be stopped, because there will be someone for everyone, even more so, to say, this is your, like, and it's not, and this is another thing I come across sometimes. Even gay people think what I'm doing is about segregating us, which I find mind-blowing, but it isn't. But because some people apparently want to be completely assimilated, and we all want to be exactly the same, which is nonsense in my eyes. It's not about segregating us. It's about giving us safe spaces where people can finally feel comfortable training, by having whether it is just a gay trainer in a gym who I guess face-to-face in the gym, it might be more difficult because you get other people approaching you, but who specifically is able to help and support gay people who come to him or her. And just, so for me, it was never about segregation. It was about allowing people, it was about reaching out to people who had never been reached out to before and saying, oh, there's another way we can do this. So, and I think the fitness industry is doing that more and more. It's funny because I wrote this question and now I don't really know how to answer it. What's it doing? Well, what do you think the fitness industry is doing wrong?
Gosh, turn it back on me. Honestly and truthfully, I think, and I'm in agreement with you, I think it is changing. But I think for too long it's been, let's include everybody in this homogenized mass. And actually we can't do that. People are different ages, they're different genders, they're different sexes, they've got different disabilities, abilities, and I think by sort of saying, right, let's treat everybody the same and make it really inclusive and anybody can come in, actually you are excluding people who've got very different needs, and who've got specific needs, or who want to work with a specific type of trainer. And I think that's where we've got it wrong. But like I said, it is changing, but it's not there yet. I think we need many more people, like you say, specialists who work with a particular niche, because what happens when that person's built their confidence, they built their fitness, is they may well go on and work with different people. But initially, it's like if you are a celiac, it's not like saying we're a restaurant, we cater for everybody. If you're a celiac, you need a restaurant that caters for you, that knows how to understand the gluten-free aspect and everything. If you are allergic to shellfish, then it's not like saying, well, this restaurant's for everybody. It's saying, well, actually, we're a restaurant that specialise in food that is allergies. So, we do it in other areas. But But I think with fitness, we're moving away from that kind of like, let's all get fitter and stronger and everything. I think we're working much more towards people who maybe just want to improve their everyday function or have a long-term condition, who just want to manage it. So this is where I think we've gone a bit wrong, is just lumping people together too much. By trying to make it one size fits all, we've actually excluded a lot of people. Whereas by saying, right, okay, you specialise in this, you specialise in this, you specialise in this, we're starting to include people more and create a much more supportive environment. It doesn't mean people can't work with other people, but it means that initially, when they are maybe starting out, they can work with a specialist who understands what they need at that point. What happens after that? Who knows? Ideally, people can feel confident then to go on and work in more mainstream facilities, but other people might not. And that's, I think, where we've got it wrong, is there hasn't been enough niche kind of opportunities for people to really to be understood. And I think that's something that we do need to work on. People are like, oh, well, I'll give it a go. I don't really understand what your disability is, but let's give it a go. And it's like, no, we want people who understand all the stuff that's going on underneath, and give it a go in an evidence-based manner rather than a client-based manner, rather than just, let's see what happens. It's like, okay, this disability, I know that there's this is an issue, that's an issue, that's an issue. So I've actually got to make sure that what I give this person is what they need, but also think about what might be going on underneath. I think that, like you say, I think we're changing. I think as an industry we are becoming more inclusive, but I think it's something that we have done badly in the past. By trying to include everybody, we've excluded lots. So to answer your question.
Great. Yes, it does perfectly. Thank you. Well done.
Yeah. But so is there anything else you want to add then specifically about yours? Because I do want to talk about your book as well, because you have got the book, Fit a Confident Universe. I will put the link in if people want to buy it. But what is it about?
Thank you. I wrote the book because it didn't exist. I wanted to see a modern handbook that was specifically tailored for the LGBTQ plus experience, about fitness, well-being, workouts, motivation, all of those things that had helped me on my journey. And it basically is a catalogue of what I've done and how it's helped me. Although it's not explicitly like my story, it's split into sections on things like motivation, mindset, understanding yourself better. So there are sort of more emotional and mental topics, but then there are the sections on how to frame a workout, how to get into it. So there's practical stuff too, stuff on nutrition, and what I create. And then there are some lovely stories from my clients peppered throughout the book, and that's to show the range of backgrounds and the range of goals and range of things that people achieved as well, like from all over the world, with people with amazing stories, just showing other people what's possible. And that for me is always the point of stories and testimonials from clients. It shows people real life proof of what's actually possible for anyone. And then also and then I created something in the book, a fake character called George, who's a sort of composite of loads of different clients. And we meet him before, we meet him during, and we meet him not necessarily after. There's no after, but when he sort of got into fitness. And it's sort of just a journey that I hope that lots of people can relate to, because, as I said, I picked and chose from mostly real stories from lots of different clients. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, but so you get that throughout. We've woven throughout, but really practical, sensible advice, and even things like from an LGBTQ plus perspective, why so many of us struggle to get into a fitness routine, looking back at history, both personal things at school, but further back, things like the AIDS crisis as well, and the sort of spectre that still hangs over a lot of us. So there's a wide range of topics covered in there, but like I said, I wanted it to be usable and sensible, and sensible in terms of the science, silly in terms of my sense of humor, but that's the dichotomy of me. But I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity, and I'm very proud of it.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. But the thing is, there's a lot of science out there when it comes to fitness. So actually, it's lovely to have something that's that takes that, but also applies it in a real world environment. And people want stories where they think, people often resonate with things where they think, well, if they can, I can. And I think that's something that is really, really important. So where can people find you if they want to find out more about what you do? I will put the links in because I've got them, but tell us a little bit about where people can find you.
Oh, I'm all up in the internet. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are all at FitterU Global. So Fitter YOU Global. If you are a gay, bi, trans, queer, man, or non-binary person, I've got a lovely Facebook group. If you search for online personal training, Fitter Confident You, you'll find it. I'm on LinkedIn and other places too, but like Instagram and Facebook are where I'm most active, and love getting feedback and replying to people and just coming up with things to support us and creating content that is relevant to everyone's journey. Well, not everyone, to my community's journey. Brilliant.
Matt, it's been really, really good to talk to you, and we could probably talk a lot more and put the world to rights, but thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, you've been listening to me, Sarah Bolitho, on this episode of Creating Active Lives. So those of you who are interested, get in touch with Matt. Those of you who've got men in your life, whoever they are, get them fit, get them healthy, get them thinking about their own journeys as well, because actually this is the month to do it, because there's going to be so much information and support out there. So if you want to start, this is going to be a good month to start. Matt, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll probably get you back on another time to talk about different areas of this.
Thank you.
Just thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Creating Active Lives with me, Sarah Bolitho, and my guests. Join me each week for more on how to create and sustain everyday activity, and follow me online at Fitness Career Mentor or Fabulous if you're interested in career development and more on creating active lifestyles.